Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Nora Miramiti Karanwa and I'm from AC2205L, and today I'm going to do my presentation for AIS615.
One revenue cycle, we are required for the question on F to do the contextual data flow diagram and intermediate data flow diagram. For the contextual data flow diagram, we only use three symbols, which is the rectangle, the circle, and the arrow, which indicates the external entity, the process, and the flow of the process. It's begin when the customer are interested in buying the item, they will fill the slip of the identification code and the slip will be sent to the sales assistant. And sales assistant will do some stock search, and if the stock is available, uh, they will send a payment request to the customer, and the customer need to pay for based on what they are preferred, either using the cash or the credit card. Once the payment is already done and payment received by the stockroom clerk will search the item in order to send to the counter for the collection for the customer. So when the transaction occur, the stockroom clerk notified that the level of inventory will decrease. Therefore, the stockroom clerk will enter to the purchase order system by reorder the item to the supplier that they had on their list. Once the supplier notified the order and they are ready for the delivery, the supplier will deliver the stock to the stockroom clerk, and stockroom clerk will receive the stock delivered by the supplier. Okay, so for the intermediate data flow diagram, which is much more complex, which is much more details, it started when the customer came to the store and he browsed the catalog, and when they browse the catalog, they see something that they want to buy and want to know if the product is available in the store or not. They can enter the unique identification code to check the inventory availability, and it will go to the inventory store. Inventory device, it will store the inventory file, and the inventory file will send the details of the product to the customer. And when the customer are interested in buying, they will send the slip of the identification code that they are already filled to the sales assistant. And the sales assistant will do some quantity check in the inventory file, and if the product is available, the sales assistant will request for the payment for the customer, and customer need to proceed the payment as what they prefer. When the payment are received by the sales assistant will give the receipt to the customer as the proof, and need to be used by the customer to collect the item at the counter later. And once the payment is done, the payment will be recorded in the transaction file. Okay, so the purchase of good will be entered into the sales order system by the customer, and the proceed of the sales by the sales assistant will enter in the sales of the system. Okay, so once the sales order entry is complete, we will move to the shipping system, where the shipping system. Okay, where the shipping system will receive the sales order from the sales of order entry before. So the storeroom will notify the purchase. So they will send the sales order to the stockroom clerk to be do some stock search in stockroom file, and if the stockroom clerk already find the item, he will send to the collection at the counter, and also the order is already filled and they will input the order in the storeroom system. So the storeroom will send the order to the counter, and once the item is already delivered by the storeroom clerk to the counter, the customer can collect the item at the counter by giving the receipt from the payment they have made. So when the sales happen, and the storeroom clerk will realize that uh, they will have some reduced level, the reduced inventory level, so they need to increase the stock level. So they will enter to the purchase system by they are sending order to the supplier that they had on their list. And when the supplier are ready to send the item, they will notify the delivery time to the cost to the storeroom, and storeroom will acknowledge the order details, and the order details will be input in the product order file. Okay, so that's all for the question 1A. So we move for the question 1B. There were
Question
some
1B.
we need to discuss the issues on implementing a wallet in Malaysia. Okay, we know that e-wallet is a invention that has developed in 21st century that make people to make a payment in a single click. However, for someone who are not aware of the latest technologies or the latest trend or application, might have some issues when the e-wallet has implemented in the Malaysia. And the first issue is it can be a quite of hassle and at the time consuming for someone who are not interested in using the e-wallet. This is because of in order to use e-wallet, first we need to install, and then we need to key in all our personal details, card banks, and we need to top up first for before we actually can use the e-wallet. So the step that we required to follow, it can be quite a hassle for someone, especially the elderly who are not aware of the technologies. Okay, so the second issues in on the accessibility. Okay, not everyone are able to access the e-wallet. Okay, some people might have a phone, but they don't have an internet connection, or some people had a phone, but the phone is only for the use of the calls or message the their family. Okay, we know that in order to use the e-wallet system, you need to access the e-wallet by using the internet connection. Thus, when someone who doesn't have the internet connection, they cannot access the e-wallet. Therefore, there is one of the issues on implementing e-wallet in Malaysia. Okay, the next issues is because not all shop implement the system. This is because in order to shop or the store to implement the system, they require a special training for their staff to learn how to record the e-wallet transaction in when the customer come and they use the e-wallet. The staff need to learn before how to key in all the e-wallet transaction. In order to shop to implement the system, it required the cost. Therefore, most of the store preferred sales from the cash sales since it much more easier and faster, as it is more practicable. Okay. Okay. So the next issue is on the debit or credit card. Okay. There's an issue where why we need to use the e-wallet system, as now we can pay cashless using the debit or credit card. Okay, since now the bank already implement transaction using like a pay with transaction, which is the card user doesn't need to enter the pin, just tap the card and the transaction will successfully approved in a second, which is much more easier than we need to use e-wallet. Since e-wallet, we need to have the internet connection, we need to have the phones. So there's an issue why we need to use the e-wallet, since we already had the debit or credit card, which is much more easy. The issues on implementing e-wallet in Malaysia is due to the cyber attack. Okay. People are scared if anywhere their personal details can be used by the other parties without their consent and without their acknowledgement. Even though the e-wallet system have developed the best securities for the software and firewall, however, they are not 100% ensured that the data cannot be stolen by the other parties. Therefore, many customer or many people has playing extra careful to the cyber attack, and this is why uh, it is hard to implement e-wallet in Malaysia, since the issue of cyber attack is scaring everyone. Okay.
Okay, that's all from me. For the next station will be presented by Amina, my other groupmate. Thank you.
Thank you, Amira. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Siti Aminah binti Nasrul.
I will continue with PBL Session 2 Expenditure Cycle. Question A. 5 weaknesses that exist in Alvin's expenditure cycle and make suggestions for improvements using a two-column approach. So the first weakness is stated in the second bullet in the question. There are no perpetual inventory records being recorded by storeroom clerks. This will raise the risk of inaccurate inventory records to be occurred. The improvement that can be made is perpetual inventory method should be used to ensure that information about inventory stocks is always current. The perpetual inventory method allows regular update of inventory records to help prevent situations like running out of stock. Perpetual inventory method also reduces the requirement to count physical inventory. However, data entry errors can result in inaccurate perpetual inventory records because even expert typists do make mistakes. However, this error can be eliminated by using information technology. Perpetual inventory method provides a highly detailed view of changes in inventory with immediate reporting of the amount of inventory in stock and accurately reflects the level of goods on hand. The second weakness also stated in the second bullet of the questions, where the storeroom clerks do not keep records for goods received or issued. The improvement that can be made, all transfers of inventory within the company should be documented. Both the receiving department and the inventory stores department should acknowledge the transfer of goods from the receiving dock into inventory storeroom. Both inventory stores and production departments should acknowledge the release of inventory into production. Oral authorization must be eliminated as there is no black and white documentation. Documentation is important as it provides the necessary information for establishing accountability for any shortage, thereby encouraging employees to take special care to record all inventory movements accurately. The third weakness, referring to the last bullet in the question, the weakness is there is no proper segregation of duties. The storeroom clerks receive the ordered materials upon their arrival. The improvement that can be made here, the employees that are responsible for custody of inventory and employees that authorized to adjust inventory records cannot be the employees that are responsible for the receiving function. There should be a receiving clerk under receiving department that will receive the ordered materials upon their arrival. Employees that responsible for controlling physical access to inventory should not be able to adjust inventory records without review and approval. Segregation of duties ensures that there is oversight and review to catch errors. It also helps to prevent fraud or minimize the risk of inventory theft because it requires two people to collude in order to hide a transaction. The fourth weakness is by referring to the second sentence of the last bullet in the questions, where the clerks count all items and verify that the counts agree with the quantities on the bill of lading. Bill of lading only identifies the carrier, source, destination, and any special responsibility for the goods in transit only. The improvement that can be made is when delivery arrives, the responsible clerk that should be the receiving clerk must compare the purchase order number reference on the supplier's packing slip with the open purchase order file to verify that the goods were ordered. Then, receiving clerk counts the quantity of goods delivered and examine for signs of obvious damage for each delivery. The receiving clerk should also prepare receiving report, which consists of the details about each delivery including the date received, shipper, supplier, and purchase order number. For each item received, it must show the item number, description, unit of measure, and quantity. The receiving report also must contain the identity of person that received and inspected the delivered goods and remarks on the quality of the items received. The fifth weakness is referring to the third sentence in the third bullet in the questions, where the accounts payable clerk prepares a purchase order for each item on the list and mails it to the supplier from whom the part was last purchased. The improvement that can be made here is job rotation should be implemented to reduce the risk of kickbacks. Purchasing agents, in this case, the account payable clerk, should not deal with the same suppliers indefinitely because doing so increases the risk that they may give way to the constant temptations offered by an unethical supplier. If the organization is too small to rotate job duties across different purchasing agents, it should be periodically conducting a detailed audit of the purchasing agent's activities. For the purchase of high-cost items, in this case high-cost electronic components, management may explicitly want to re-evaluate all potential suppliers each time that product is ordered. Next, question B. Describe how IT development can be integrated in these control procedures. So, the need for manual data entry can be eliminated by using IT, thus improve the accuracy of perpetual inventory records. For example, the use of barcoding. Using electronic data interchange (EDI) for purchase order with the access to the EDI system is controlled and limited to authorized personnel through the use of passwords, user IDs, access control matrices, and physical access control will improve purchasing process. New IT developments such as radio frequency identification (RFID) provides capability to track individual inventory items. Thus, RFID makes it possible for companies to more accurately account for actual inventory-related costs by switching to the specific identification method for accounting of inventories. Uses of barcodes and RFID tags on goods can facilitate the counting of goods. This will significantly reduce accidental mistakes in counting items received by the receiving clerks. Electronic data interchange (EDI) reduces costs by eliminating the clerical work associated with printing and mailing paper documents. The time between recognizing the need to reorder an item and subsequently receiving will also be reduced. Next, question C. Describe these documents. Purchase order. Purchase order is a document that formally requests a supplier to sell and deliver specified products at designated prices. It is also a promise to pay and becomes a contract once the supplier accepts it. Receiving report. Receiving report is a document that records details about each delivery, including the date received, shipper, supplier, and quantity received. Sales invoice. Sales invoice is a document notifying customers of the amount of a sale and where to send payment. Packing slip. Packing slip is a document listing the quantity and description of each item included in a shipment. Picking ticket. Picking ticket is a document that lists the items and quantities ordered and authorizes the inventory control function to release that merchandise to the shipping department. Bill of lading. Bill of lading is a legal contract that defines responsibility for goods while they are in transit. Credit memo. Credit memo is a document approved by the credit manager authorizing the billing department to credit a customer's account. Remittance advice. Remittance advice is a copy of the sales invoice written with a customer's payment that indicates the invoice, statements, or other items being paid. Cash flow budget. Cash flow budget is a budget that shows projected cash inflows and outflows for a specified period. Back order. Back order is a document authorizing the purchase or production of items that is created when there is insufficient inventory to meet customer orders.
Next, I will pass to Hana.
Thank you, Amina, for explaining expenditure cycle. Before I proceed, I would like to introduce myself first. My name is Nur Husni Farhana binti Husni, and I would like to continue with question 3, which is payroll cycle. So we will continue with the PBL session 3, which the question asks about the payroll cycle. So question A asks 5 internal control weaknesses that exist in the payroll system of the company and the improvement that can be implemented. So we will compare the weakness and the improvement. So the first is employees manually recorded their hours worked. So as the improvement, the company may use technology in recording the attendance data of their employees. This is because when company use technology, they cannot cheat on their data or in their attendance. For example, company may use fingerprint system. By doing this, employee cannot cheat their data as the time was recorded when they clock in their attendance, and they also cannot ask another employees to log in for them as the company use fingerprint system. So fingerprint cannot be duplicated, cannot be copied by others. So the second weaknesses is the supervisors collect, review, and approve timesheet every Friday before forward it to payroll department. So as for the improvement, supervisor should collect, review, and approve timesheet every month instead of every Friday when the company needs to pay the employee salary. So it will reduce the works and time consuming of supervisors. If they do every week, they need a lot of time to do it. So it is time consuming for the supervisors. So we continue with the third weaknesses is individual employee wage rate is manually pulled from the personal file based on the employee identification numbers. As we can see the word manually, we can say that there is a weaknesses. So as for the improvement, the company should use cloud-based payroll system in calculating the wages of its employees. When they are using the software, they will reduce the error that might be occur during the payroll processing. Besides, all the data of employee can be stored in the system. Thus, payroll clerk does not have to review the personal file one by one of the employees when calculating their wages. So this will also reduce the time of the payroll clerk and it will avoid error to occur in this process.
So next is the witness is payroll clerk updates the payroll register and sends a copy of the payroll register to the account payable clerk who updates the account payables ledger. So for the improvement, the payroll register must be approved first. This is because in the question there are no verification of the payroll register, so there it might be error to occur. So the disbursement voucher should be prepared to authorize the transfer of funds from the company. This is to avoid any fraud that may be occurred from any persons in this process. So if there is no disbursement voucher, there might be a middle person who might be do fraud. For example, he might cheat on the money. He might take the money for granted for him. The next weaknesses is the cash disbursement clerk signs the paycheck and forward them to the supervisors to distribute the paychecks to each employees under their supervision. So as for the improvement, after signs the paycheck, the cash disbursement clerk should transfer funds straight to the company's payroll bank account to avoid any error to be occurred. So the question B asks the benefits of cloud-based payroll for business. So the first benefit is it can make automatic update instantly. It does not require the clerk to do a backup data as the software can backup the data by itself. So for example, when there is a country that have political issues, they keep on changing their legislative information. So when the country update the legislative information, the system will consistently update the information. So it does not require the clerk to type it manually and so on. So the second benefit is it can access information at any time by using their own device. All the employees needs are having a stable internet connection. So they can use their device to enter the attendance, and it can be the attendance are on time as they are using devices and they cannot cheat on their attendance. And it is convenient as they may change their preferred language choice in the system. Company may have business in many countries, so every country have using many different language. So as the software, it can choose the choices of language that the employees want. So the third benefit is improved transparency. So it enables employee to access to their relevant information. The managers can access their team information, for example like leave requests and training schedule, without having to ask human resource department. So all employees can access to that software. It is easier for them. They does not have to communicate with others to ask about that things. So the fourth benefit is it is easy to integrate with others. For example, when using enterprise resource planning software, the data will automatically be pushed to and from this application. It can save time and avoid duplication of works. This is because the employee's details are loaded once and it pulls to all the relevant system automatically, and it can avoid any error to be occurred as the system will do it for us. So the last benefit of cloud-based payroll is it's easier to report the result. The data are reported at real time and employee can get instant result. So it will avoid any delay in the delivery of information. It is much easier as all information is up to date and correctly recorded. And the company also may plan the business strategies as there is relevant information, as the information in there, so it does not to collect from the others. So it is much easier to the employees and the companies also. Last question is question 3C, which asks the two possible risks that associated with non-cloud-based payroll system transaction. So the first risk is the security. In terms of securities, the company payroll system it store all sorts of sensitive information on both company info and employees' financial details. So if anything happens to that system, it might harm the company. So for example, when there is a payroll officer, he is unintentionally respond to a phishing email from the CEO. That CEO asks for the company the details of information of another employees. Without checking further, the payroll officer might respond to the email and give information to that payroll officer, and this action will lead to the confidential data of the company to outsider leak. So the information has been given to the outsiders. So companies should do more security towards their system to avoid this kind of things happens. So the second risk that associated with non-cloud-based payroll system transaction is data loss. It is important to have a backup. So it is important to keep the information of employees as every month the company needs to pay the salary of its employee. If the data is lost, how come the company can want to pay the salary of its employees? For example, when there is a disaster strikes on the hard drive where the payroll information is stored, the data might not be recovered when there is no backup. So without that kind of information, people can't get paid. And employees will angry as they not getting their wages, or their wages might be late as usual because of this disaster. This might be occurred when a company use non-cloud based payroll system. So company may switch their system by using the payroll software, as it will give more benefits to the company and it will give high security to the company, and it also will prevent data from loss as it will automatically backup the data.
I think that's all from me, and I would like to pass the presentation to Najiha with question 4.
Thank you, Farna. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Najiha binti Mahmud, and I will be present session 4, which is production cycle.
Next, I will proceed with PBL session 4, which is production cycle. The production cycle is a recurring set of business activities and related information processing operations associated with the manufacture of products. It means that the production cycle provides information about raw materials requisitions, finished goods that have been produced and are available for sales. Next, we will move to the questions, which is question A. Discuss three weaknesses in AB's present productions, scheduling, and three weaknesses in its work center, and explain the potential risk exposure posed by the weaknesses. Suggest relevant 6 improvements that can be used to address the weaknesses identified earlier. So, first, we will look at the weaknesses and improvement in production schedules. The first weaknesses can be found in the first paragraph of production schedules. So, Harry is AB's production engineer who is also responsible to control the work area, prepares a production schedule for each production batch. So here we can see that Harry did many jobs in a time. Harry will probably be a theft of inventory or making unauthorized data changes because he can access all the data. And then there is also a chances of inaccurate or invalid master data. So to prevent the unauthorized changes of the production data, the company needs to enforce proper access control and segregation of duties. For example, the system should be programmed to reject any attempts to alter inventory records from a terminal located in the engineering department. So a person should have the limitations what he can access because if a person for example, Harry, if Harry can access all the information, so he can make any changes for his personal use. And then people who control the work area and prepare a production schedule have to be a different persons. It is important to safeguard inventory and to avoid any losses. So the preparation of production schedule should be prepared by production planning. Okay, next weaknesses can be found in second paragraph, which if Harry finds that the inventory is not enough, he will personally contact any authorized supplier as listed in the recommended supplier file. The action taken by Harry is wrong. Um, just because he controls the inventory, he cannot just personally contact the supplier. Harry might wrongly order the materials without confirming with the authority. It will incur losses for the company. So the right way to request additional materials is the clerk of inventory storeroom needs to use materials requisition tickets to record any additional raw materials required. Um, the clerk of inventory also needs to ask proper approval of the production orders from the authorizations. Any request for additional materials in excess of the amount specified in the bill of material should be documented. The document is to provide evidence of a valid transaction. This is to prevent any misuse of order and inventory. A company needs to efficiently operate to prevent waste of productions. Careful review and approval also to ensure that the correct productions orders are released. Next, weaknesses. Next, weaknesses can be found in the third paragraph, which after the delivery arrives, Harry made no other checks if the supplier is one of those in the recommended supplier file. Harry is confident that the supplier file is trusted. So this action might occur discrepancies between physical counts and recorded amounts. So before he sign or accept any delivery order, he needs to check the amounts. So to improve these actions, an organization can use RFID equipment, which it is an automate the tracking of inventory such as barcode scanner. So it will be easier to record movement of inventory, thereby maintaining accurate perpetual inventory records. Other than that, using RFID also can reduce time consuming to count the inventory physically. Even though the company did not, the person that accept the delivery did not count the inventories upon arrival, the RFID will automatically count the inventories there is in. RFID system will reduce the chances of imbalanced inventory. So the next weaknesses is in work center. So the first weakness in the work center can be found in the first paragraph of work center, which Kamal sent move ticket to Harry for authorization before the batch could be relayed to another section. If Kamal made the authorization from Harry, the document may have failed to be verified, as Harry is the production engineer. So he should send the ticket to the authorized person. So the improvement, the documents such as production orders, materials, requisition, and move ticket should be authorized by supervisor personnel, which is the production control clerk or production employee. So both the inventory control clerk and the production employee receiving the raw materials should sign the requisition to acknowledge release of the goods productions. So two authorization needed to prevent any misused inventory happened in the productions. Okay, second weaknesses can be found in second paragraph of work setter. Okay, which is after Kamal transmit the job ticket to cost accounting section, the accounting department makes no other check or review. So it will result to have any error if the accountant did not make any check. Since this process involves the accounting department, so it means that it involves money. So we need to be careful before we proceed with other work. So for improvement, the accounting department should review or check the document passed by production manager. It is to ensure that there is no mistake made by the production workers and to prevent any overclaim salary and overtime. So it will also reduce the losses. Okay. Next. Last but not least, the third weaknesses in the work center is in the third paragraph, which Kamal also verbally notifies Harry once the production process when it is complete. So we can see that Kamal just verbally noticed to Harry. So it will lead to misunderstanding or misinterpret the informations because there are no document prepared by Kamal. So to improve this one, Kamal should provide proper written record as a proof the transaction happens. The documentation helps to keep track the amount of inventory records should be the amount of inventory record should be the same amount with the physical inventory. Okay. Okay, next, we'll move on to question B. Physical control remain as the main concern in the conversion cycle, especially for business dealing with tangible assets. The loss of its asset and product would have a direct negative impact on a business profit margin and eventually will affect the sustainability of business itself. So discuss how big data analytics can be used to improve productions. Okay, we can reduce the risk of losing inventories by implementing big data analytics for the company. So the first one, I will discuss about what is big data analytics. Okay, big data is a field to analyze, systematically extract information from. They are set to collect massive volume of information, the velocity or speed at which it is created and collected, and the variety of the velocity or scope of the data points being covered. Thus, we can say that big data can save times and easy to track any mistake as it collects many informations. The production system that is used by the company was Enterprise Resources Planning System, as also known as ERP. However, the existence of big data in the ERP system will produce good results together. Advancement in big data tools made their integration a success. So big data and ERP can work perfect together. Okay. So there are several benefits of big data that I found. So the first one is big data can help to increase the productivity in the production department. Big data had advanced analytics that is referred to application of statistic and other mathematical tools to business data in order to assess and improve practice. The manager also can easily track historical process data and create pattern of the production cycles. So they can focus about the demands and future needs as well as to predict how a product is going to perform in the future. So big data in ERP is very useful because the company can forecast the demand, so we don't need to do the manual. Okay, next benefits of big data is big data also helps to reduce time consuming when in decision making. So big data has a high speed of tools. The memory in big data can easily identify new sources of data, which helps a company to analyzing data immediately and provide faster information delivery to the users. So the users can access the information at any times because it provides faster delivery. Okay, and then the company can track how many products to buy for a current demand as well as future demand. It helps the company to be ready with the stock so that the production can be operating smoothly without delay. So if the big data can forecast about future demand, so we can prepare earlier. So and then we can buy the raw materials. We have the plan to buy when and which time. Okay, and then The third benefit is in terms of scheduling, big data in the ERP system can help the company to freely access information in real times. For example, because it records any data in real time. So when we want the data, so it already have in the system. So we don't have to wait for a day or an hours to find the data. It gives better insights of all operational areas, making companies capable to schedule process operations in an effective manner. So big data analytics can afford to predict accurately based on the customer behavior because it can study the historical pattern, so it can predict accurately. Okay, and then it gives the manufacturers more lead times. Hence, big data integrated can contribute greatly to improve a business. Okay, last but not least, big data analytics also can detect fraud. Okay, big data is a computerized system and record the movement of inventory in real time. So because of it is a computerized system and can provide many information, so it can detect fraud at all transactions because it has the advancements. Okay, big data analytics is very useful when fraud is hidden in large data volumes and manual checks are insufficient. If there are any differences between documentation and computer system, it should be investigated to check any discrepancies. Okay, so big data analytics will identify fraud before it becomes material. It will focus any suspicious transactions. So when the data focus on the suspicious transactions, so it will reduce times to check the fraud. We do not have to check all of the transactions. We just need to check the suspicious transactions only. Hence, we can see that the big data gives such a big impact to an organization in improving the business. So, big data is very useful in the company.
I think that's all for me. Next, I will pass to the next presenter for session 5.
The PBL Session 5 General Ledger and Reporting System. For the third one, error in updating the general ledgers to the incorrect or incomplete journal entry or posting of journal entries. We know that when this error happen, it can lead to poor decision making based on the incorrect information in financial performance reports. Therefore, there are few controls for this threat. The first one is data entry processing integrity control. Data entry processing integrity control is a process where the types of input edit such as validity check, zero balance checks, completeness tests, group loss verification, site checks, and run to totals need to be done, and need to be processed. Control are needed to ensure that they are accurate and complete. Thus, with a strong access, it can reduce the risk of unauthorized journal entries. Next control is by reconciliation and control report. So by reconcile, we can detect whether any errors were made by during the reconcile on the general ledger report. When during the reconcile, by comparing the general ledger and the balance of the subsidiary ledger, when the two total is not equal, we need to do some investigate and correct the amount. Moreover, it's important to reconcile since we can check the transaction occur near to the end accounting period to verify whether the recording has been proper record or not. The last control is by using the audit trail. Audit trail is a path that allows the transaction to be traced through a data processing system. It is a deductive control that provides evidence about the causes and changes in the ledger account. the document cannot be deleted since therefore it build feature such as ERP system that will ensure that SAP create and maintains a secure audit trail.
Okay, next I'll proceed to the next trait, which is trait number 2. Loss or unauthorized disclosure or alteration of financial data. So this trait can happen in any organizations, whether it's big or it's small. So to prevent this happen, we need to have several control to this unfortunate situation happens. Okay, the first control is the company needs to backup the data to save important files if a system crash or a hard drive failure. It is very important to backup the data. So if the data had gone missing, we can recover back. So we didn't have to worry if we backup the data. Okay, other than backup the data using external storage, we also had an option to save the data in cloud storage. Example of cloud storage is Google Drive by Google, OneDrive by Microsoft. So we can see that to access the cloud storage, we need to internet access. Since nowadays, internet is very wide and easy to access. So I think it have no problem to access the cloud storage. Cloud storage really helps to keep the data and reduce the chances of hard drive failure. Okay. Next, a control is we must have external and internal file labels to reduce chances of accidentally erasing important data. So when we rename our file with the title, so it will be easier for us to recognize because it will be less confusing. Because sometimes we tend to save our file to non-specific name, so it will be confusing for us. So other than reduce the confusing, rename the file also can help us in the future. For example, as search engines, if we put the name of the file to the main title, so it is easier for us to search in the future. For example, we save the data in AIS615. So in the future, if we want to find the file, we just need to search AIS615. So it will be easier for us to find the file, so we don't have to scroll down the data as we have many data. Next, control is encryption. Encryption the data can help an organization with unauthorized disclosure or alteration of financial data. Encryption is when only several person can access the data because only the person knows the encryption of the data. So only the person that have the benefit can access the data. By doing that, the data will be protected and will reduce the risk of being hacked. Okay, the last control is the manager needs to restrict the access of the system. It is important to modify user permission to ensure only the authorized person can access the data. It helps to prevent the alteration of financial data. Other ways to restrict the data, every time we did not use the data or you want to go to the toilet for a bit, you need to close or log out the system so that no other person can hack when you are gone. So it is to prevent or other person comes and make changes to our computer. We need to be aware of this one as we as a human always careless. So I think this is all for me and I will pass to
Next,
my
Threat 3. Loss or destruction of the general ledger. The corresponding controls for loss or destruction of the general ledger threat are Employee Data Backup Procedure and Disaster Recovery Plan (DRP). Data backup procedures are designed to deal with situations where information is not accessible because the relevant files or databases have become corrupted as a result of hardware failure, software problems, or human error, but the information system itself is still functioning. DRP is a plan to restore an organization's IT capability in the event that its data center is destroyed. Next, it is best practice to implement the Enterprise Resource Planning (ERP) system as 3 separate instances. One instance, referred to as production, that is used to process daily activity. A second is used for testing and development. A third instance should be maintained as an online backup to the production system to provide near real-time recovery. ERP software applications are important to companies because they help them implement resource planning by integrating all of the processes needed to run their companies with a single system.
That's all from us. Thank you.